when you vote in November, and you better vote, will your vote matter the same as everybody else's? And will your vote matter at all? I'm here to tell you that it's not going to matter, and it won't matter, and it doesn't matter. And that's because we need to abolish that's because of the Electoral College, which we need to abolish. Now in 2016, according to the New York Times publication of the election results, Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton in the electoral vote. But in the popular vote, Hillary Clinton actually beat Donald Trump by 3 million. 3 million more people voted for Hillary Clinton than Donald Trump, and we have Donald Trump as our president. Now, all of you have a responsibility to this democracy to be informed and to get involved. Now, today I'm going to be talking to you, of course, about the abolition of the Electoral College. I'm going to talk to you about why the Electoral College is wrong, what we can do about it as a society, as a government, as a political system, and what you can do to get involved. Now, first off, why is the Electoral College so bad? Well, to quote from, or to discuss William Codrington's article in The Atlantic titled The Electoral College's Racist History, which is published in November of 2019, the Electoral College was created as a system of racism. But at the time, black people counted as 3/5 of a person. And this was done only because the southern states southern slave-owning states wanted more representation. They wanted disproportionate representation. So the small southern white slave-owning states from the get-go were oppressing blacks. Even though they didn't have the vote, they were still counted to give the southern states more votes. Now, people may say, times have changed. Things are different now. That's not true. Nothing has, well, obviously slavery doesn't exist, but things have not changed. Racism still exists, and the Electoral College is proof of that, as the Electoral College values black voters less and white voters more. And this is shown by William Blake's article, Dr. William Blake out of the University of Maryland, this was published in September of 2019. For every one more standard deviation of white voters that a state has, it will receive 6.9% more electoral votes. White districts and white states get more votes, electoral votes. How does that make any sense? So when people talk about how the Electoral College ensures that all voices are heard equally, that's utter bogus because it is discriminating against minorities. Now, to move on, it also supports the unpopular two-party system through the winner-take-all system. Now, the winner-take-all system, basically what it does is, in a district, if you win all the votes from that district, the candidate that won, the majority of the vote, gets all the electoral votes. Now, this means that it's not proportional. It could be split 70-30, and all the votes will go to the 70. It could be 50-50, or 51-49, and all the votes will go to the 51, even though it was so close. Now, this is a problem because you only have two parties because you have a winner and a loser. There's no space for a third party, and this is a problem because the majority of Americans actually support there being a third party. Now, looking at this Gallup poll, which was published in October of 2018, 57% of Americans want a third party. Yet the system, which only 38% of Americans believe in, the system that exists doesn't allow for third party to exist. This is the will of the people. Why is the will of the people consistently getting ignored? Now, to move on a little bit, this is not really a surprise because the Electoral College creates political polarization and props up unpopular presidents. Now, we see this in the case of Donald Trump, who hasn't gotten above 50% in his time as president, and we see it in the case of George Bush, who despite 9/11, without 9/11, probably would not have had, after everybody rallied around the flag, rightfully so, would not have had a popular presidency as well. One of his lowest points was 31% in 2006, the same year that Gallup poll we looked at was made. So people are saying, look, we don't like this. A president that was voted in unpopularly, like Bush or like Trump, we don't want this. And will of the people is getting ignored repeatedly. Now, to discuss, this is just Bush shows the approval ratings of Bush, Trump, and Obama. Now, to talk more about the Electoral College, it overrepresents and inflates the votes of white, sparsely populated, conservative-leaning states. Now, this is supported by John Farley, who talked about how Iowa, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, as well as Ohio, basically decided the 2016 presidential election. John Farley's article was published in his journal was posted in Sociological Quarterly, which was in June of 2019. Now, to talk about this is a graph that supports that. As you can see, the right-leaning, white, sparsely populated states receive way more representation. Now, another thing is that the Electoral College doesn't actually stop mob rule and uneducated misinformed majorities to take control, like proponents of the Electoral College will say. This point is echoed poorly by Christina Villagius in fall of 2018 with her entry into Perspectives on Political Science, which was entitled Popular Origins of the Electoral College. She basically argues the Electoral College was created under a democratic system, therefore it is democratic. That is not true. It was not democratic because it was made by white people who were looking to oppress black people who were slaves at the time, giving smaller states a bigger voice. Now, we talked about some problems with the Electoral College. Let's talk about some solutions. Biggest and first one that comes to mind, get rid of it, right? However, this is unlikely because there's barely majority support from the public, and you would need bipartisan support, as you would need 2/3 of the Congress and 2/3 of the states to agree on this, because it would be a constitutional amendment. Now, if you look at this graph here, you'll find that according to a Gallup poll, 73% of Democrats support it, but 30% of Republicans do not, or do support it. And I was mistaken. This is actually by Darrell West in his article by the Brookings Institute, which was published in October 2018. I apologize. Now, this is clearly not really a viable solution, so let's talk about a viable one. The National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, NPVIC. Now, basically what this does is proportionalizes elections. States would give a proportional amount of electoral votes to the winner of an election. So if it's 70-30, 70 would go to one, 30 would go to another. It has 196 out of the 270 electoral votes needed to go into action based on the states that have signed up. And this is according to their website, which was accessed by me on July 3rd of 2020. Now, they only need 74 to go, so this is a pretty viable thing. You only need a few more states to jump on board. Now, to supplement that, because that would not be a perfect solution, subtract 2 electoral votes from every state to make the amount of electoral votes each state has proportional to its population. Now, this was actually proposed by John Service in Social Science Quarterly in June of 2019. He proposed that because electoral votes come from congressional representation, so 2 senators for every state, and what that is it disproportionately represents smaller states. Now, you get rid of that, it's completely proportional. So that's why he proposed that, and that's a good idea. You can combine the 2, NPVIC, and the subtracting 2 electoral votes to make everything proportional and fair, as close to popular vote as we can get without making a constitutional amendment. Now, what would this do? We talked about some solutions. What would this look like? It would equalize the votes of all voters, no matter what solution we pick. Imagine a system without antiquated racial policies, a system without institutional racism. Imagine people picking the president. That's something we need in this country. Additionally, presidential representation would be better because it would represent the majority in our ideals rather than representing the white, powerful majority or minority. It's getting ridiculous. Now, to conclude, we need to get rid of the Electoral College, or at least move in that direction. We need to move towards what was said in the Declaration of Independence: all men are created equal. We need to get involved. I'm not going to tell you guys what to do. I'm not going to tell you how to get involved, but I've linked up some resources for you guys to get involved. So do your part and get involved. Get educated. Do some research. Scan the QR code to look for the petitions and the videos I put up. And I really hope you guys have enjoyed and maybe learned something new. You don't have to agree with me. I guarantee that if you didn't agree with me at the beginning, you don't agree with me now. However, this is where we're at, and you got to at least do your research, because I have faith in the American people that they can do their research and they are qualified to vote for president. Thanks for listening. I hope you learned something and enjoyed.